Hey everyone, I know it's been a few days, but I thought I might share some of my thoughts on the most recent Super Bowl halftime show, on some past Super Bowl halftime shows, and then just about the reaction to the most recent one versus some of the past ones and everything. So I'm going to kind of just rant on this one. I do have some thoughts kind of together and put my initial thoughts down and then a few kind of like looking back at things as well. So, first, I'm sure everybody is aware of the most recent Super Bowl football game. I usually only watch one football game a year, if any, and it's the Super Bowl, just because I think it's so interesting to see like what the most modern new technology that is new and cool at the time, but is going to become the norm after that. So that's really a lot of the appeal of it for me. And this one did not disappoint. I know some people just like to pout and not watch, but I felt like it was a fun, entertaining game watching the Eagles kind of dominate. But on to the actual Super Bowl and what you're here for, though, or the halftime show. So it was interesting, and I was familiar with Kendrick Lamar already somewhat. I'd seen some of his other stuff. The only album that I can say that I've like sat and listened to all the way through was the Damn album that he put out a few years back, and it was good. I enjoyed it, and when the songs that I recognized from that came up, I was kind of had those little moments. But understandably, I've been seeing that some people um, really didn't even want to give it a chance, and I get if you watch it and it's not your thing and you are not someone who understands all the references that are going on, but to decide that you're going to sit it out before even giving something like this a chance, I feel like it might not be the best way to approach something like this. And for those people who felt that way about it, I'm not here to criticize, ostracize, anything like that. But I would be curious to ask who would be performers that you would prefer to see on stage. I mean, are you talking you want to see someone like Morgan Wallen or Puddle of Mud or uh Trapped, or I don't know, like I'm kind of curious, to see like what could appeal. And I went back to the beginning of the century, the millennium, however you want to look at it, back to 2000, and kind of made like three lists of categories, I guess: the good, the bad, and then I kind of made a third one here that kind of wound up dominating, which I started as naming as not worth mentioning. It was just I didn't go back and rewatch every single Super Bowl halftime thing, so I didn't go back and rewatch any of them. I just went off of what I remember and the public perception at the time and what has carried forward, and just I guess just my some of my feelings on these are just my list. So kind of just going in order right now, I'm kind of thinking that Kendrick Lamar was one of the good ones, and it's fresh in my mind. It's the most current, but to be honest, I was really, even though I don't listen to Kendrick on a regular basis, it's great to see that they're giving a platform like that to a solo artist who is able to take their catalog, their show, and convert it into something that is entertaining for 13, 18, however many minutes it was. But I gotta say that it was nice all around, that they gave him the chance. I thought it was funny that he was taking the swings at Drake. I mean, some of them, he's looking right into the camera, right into the eyes of millions of people watching at home, but he's specifically talking to one person, and that I thought was funny and amusing. So I enjoyed, things like that. How I'll remember it in the future and everything, I'm not going to go back and like rewatch, all this stuff again. But I thought that it was funny and it was good. Kind of looking back though, let's see. I guess other than that, the last few years though, I kind of put in the not worth mentioning folder as far as like Usher and Rihanna. It's like I watched them and they were okay and everything, but you know these are also, good solo artists, and I think the reason they got their shots at it is because the year prior to that you had Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, 50 Cent, Kendrick, as a part of that as well, and I would have just been happy with his participation on that, and knew that he was gonna give a good show based on that. But that is one that I listed as like one of the top three of this millennium would be the Dr. Dre. So I put like stars by three of them in particular. Dr. Dre is one of them. Let's see, what else did I list beyond that? That was the 56th Super Bowl. Then you had, where was 55? Oh yeah, The Weekend. That was a good one, but and the stage was all cool. I get that they were working within the limitations of COVID and stuff in 2020, but it was a cool set. But I did put it in the not really worth going back for me file or anything. Jennifer Lopez the year before that. That's the first one that I put in the bad category, and it was just I don't know. I'm just like I get that she's big and was popular a few decades ago, and she had brought Shakira out, and that was okay. But I just didn't feel like that it was that great. These are the ones that I feel like oh well, why couldn't you have gone with somebody more current? The fact that they went with Kendrick now instead of trying to dig up somebody older, I thought was actually a good decision. I'll just go down some of the ones that I listed in the bad and everything. So Jennifer Lopez, Maroon 5, could have done without. I know that it kind of became like a memeable sort of thing. That was funny. Tom Petty, I really was disappointed in that one. And I think that Tom Petty kind of put a stop to it's funny where like I'm looking back and I see like a trend and then someone really bad and then it just kind of stops and they shift right there. So Tom Petty I think could kind of put an end to an area. Janet Jackson, I had to put that one in the bad, not anything to do with her, just because of what happened during her performance and the attention that it took away from it and everything. I can't really fault her for that though, but the show as a whole, I felt like suffered, and how it's viewed, even today suffered. U2, it's like who wants to see U2 during a football game or anything really? So that was in my bad. And then Disney, they did a Disney thing back in like 2000, and I think that was when one of those shifts where they were like, okay, we're gonna do Aerosmith and NSYNC the next year, and that one actually did make it into my good category, just because like I said in the beginning, I like to watch these for the newest, most modern technology that they're doing, and they did a lot of like cool tech stuff during that, as far as like the 3D kind of like workaround stuff that looks very cheesy at the time, kind of looked cheesy. Yeah, at the time looks cheesy now, but it was still like a new thing, and that was cool. So that alone put it in the good category. Let's see some of my other good ones. I put Bruno Mars in the one that he did with the Chili Peppers. And that was just kind of like right on the edge, and that I would have to put on him. That he really sold the performance, and he came out and really did a good job. The songs themselves or whatever, but Beyonce I actually put in the good one, not so much because of her on her own, but when she brought out Destiny's Child, I thought that was kind of like a cool throwback moment, like what a lot of people tried to do. If you haven't guessed by now, obviously, you know what, I'll make you wait for my two best. Let's see, as far as the other ones that I thought were kind of not worth mentioning, Coldplay on Super Bowl 50, Katy Perry, I mean, the shark thing was funny. Madonna, I don't even remember that one. Justin Timberlake solo, maybe it was okay. I can't remember. Black Eyed Peas, I know kind of has a bad reputation, but I didn't really. I'm sure it was a good one. I just don't really remember it. Then you kind of had this stretch here. Let's see, leading up to the Tom Petty one, where you had, or right after the Tom Petty one, I guess, where you had The Who and Bruce Springsteen. And I kind of felt weird putting The Who on the not worth mentioning, but I almost thought of them being like a joke, as far as like, if you, who do these people that didn't want Kendrick, who did they want? Did they want someone like The Who to come back, or like the Monkees to play a set? Like, but The Who have already has, and we must have forgotten about it, or people have forgotten that they have access to YouTube and can just look up these old Super Bowls. You don't like what's playing on the current Super Bowl, get on YouTube and look up an old one and watch that one instead. Let's see. Yeah, Bruce Springsteen, the Rolling Stones, even Paul McCartney. I put that one in the not worth mentioning. And I'm a fan of all those people there, but not somebody that I want to see in the middle of a Super Bowl act. And Shania Twain, I don't, again, I'm just covering back to the year 2000. Since you've made it this far, the other top two that I put, so I already said Dr. Dre, and that whole thing was one of my top three of the century here. The other two that I listed were, of course, Lady Gaga and probably the number one, which was Prince. So, it's I know that's kind of a spread, and some of those, it's like I have artists that I like that are in the not worth mentioning column, and I have artists that I'm not a fan of that I thought that did good performances. And I think that that's important to remember too, is that, our musical taste doesn't really amount to that much. There's no artist that I think that everybody is going to be completely sold and happy with. So pleasing everybody is not going to work. And yeah, I get that, maybe, that there are a lot of like popular country artists, or, like big seller people, and I don't know that I'd care to see, any of them do it over a rap concert or anything, or like a rapper or something playing it. You're obviously not gonna get like jazz doing Super Bowl halftime shows, like jazz ensembles or trios or big band stuff. You're not gonna get like classical acts, and you're probably not even gonna get heavy metal acts for quite a while. I think Metallica has been the kind of like, come on, like give it to us. That would be like the easiest choice. And I have no idea what the problem is with them not being able to pull that together. But I'm almost afraid that that ship may have already sailed. So it's like, well, if you can't get them, who do you get in their place for something like that? And I'm sure that they would do an amazing job if they did. Probably be in one of the top, maybe even the top three, top five, big performances. But I don't know that we'll get something like that. As I was, kind of talking there too, I guess I was thinking that, I don't know that it would have made more sense for this year, or maybe something upcoming, but I could probably see a time when an artist like Post Malone, where somebody does a Super Bowl show on their own. I would rather not see an artist like Jelly Roll, do it like as the headline. I don't care if they, come on as a as like a featured, extra person or something like that. But it's very limited, in who we think about and who would qualify and who would be worthy and stuff of these things. And we do have to be open to the thought that uh, the good artists for this going forward might be artists that we have not heard of yet, not heard of to this point anyway. A lot of the kind of legacy acts that people want to see, they're too old, to pull off a show of that energy level, of that modern draw and everything. I mean, whether you like Kendrick Lamar or know his music or anything, I mean, a week prior to this, he did win 5 Grammys, and that's got to say something. Um, a lot of times, my students will be the ones who introduce me to new music, and it'll be like a song that I've never heard before, and say like, okay, well, who's the artist? I don't know. And we look it up, and it'll be like a producer and a singer is like the featured person, and it'll have like a billion plays on Spotify. So popularity is all relative. Is I guess what I'm getting at, and just to kind of leave it on this, I'm not trying to sway anybody into liking or not liking or feel bad if you. I don't want anybody to feel bad if you didn't like it, but just think about what you would prefer to ingest instead. Um, with a show like the Aerosmith and In Sync and Britney Spears, all the people that came out, it was kind of like a an overflow of pop and rock kind of clashing anthems and stuff. And even with the Dr. Dre, it's like they're singing songs that people know the choruses of, that people love, that people dance to, that people sing along to. And I just in watching the Kendrick performance, I get the feeling that watching it, that this is not that type of music. It's like, yeah, you could kind of just like dance to it or whatever, but this is really kind of like stop and listen and think music. It's not sing along. There were a lot of transitions happening where I didn't know myself if we are still within the same song and the previous flow is going to come back to it, or if we're on a completely different song on a completely different album or anything. And I don't mind. It's not like I want to go into a Super Bowl halftime show sort of thing and already know every single song and every single lyric and note that I'm expecting to hear. I like to be surprised. I like to hear things for the first time in a new context like that, and for it to really attach to me that way. So, with that in mind, that's, I think, part of why I rank the Kendrick one so high right now, is just because I felt like it was a big risk on his part, and I applaud him for taking the risk and taking the jump and taking the stabs and everything. I thoroughly enjoyed all that, and for yourself too. If it's something that you didn't understand and you would like to try to understand music like this, just think about what he was doing and how he just kind of just is telling the words. I mean, that's that idea within rap, but that exists within classical music where you have just songs that just kind of flow and don't repeat or anything, things from, say, like the Romantic era or anything, or you have technical metal stuff where you have riffs that even within themselves have like different endings to each of the repeats there to kind of throw it off. These are not songs that are meant to be, so you're not meant to be singing along on the chorus on the second time and trying to mouth along and looking dumb doing it. This is more like whitewater rafting, and the music is kind of flowing over you, and just it's a lot to take in the first time that you hear it. It's a lot to take in and appreciate, I guess. So listen to this stuff multiple times, and I think you will get more enjoyment out of it the more that you listen to it. Not telling people to be like obsessive and, oh, you just need to listen to it more, but that might be the case where you're going to hear something new the next time that you didn't the time before, and it's just going to keep going. Would you rather have a song that catches you the first time and then doesn't really get much better than that, or something that you can listen to for a long, long time, for many years in some cases, and just continue to enjoy further? I have talked a lot longer than I expected to on this topic, even with my notes out here in front of me, but I appreciate anybody who has listened, and again, please share your thoughts. List your top three Super Bowls of all 60 or however many there has been, or the your top three of the century. Or again, if you feel like that you would rather see someone who has not played yet, I am interested to hear who your list of artists would be, and potentially even get mad and debate about it. So have fun with that. Thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you again here soon in another video. Thanks.